Hello, friends. I have big power. No, my power is gone, but the werewolf has good magic. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I used to work at Burger King a few years back. I was a teenager in high school at the time, and I really needed the money to save up for college. I was taking every shift I could get. I even covered for my co-workers if they left early. That was how I ended up working the night shift, and I never went back to work there ever since. The manager was like Mr. Krabs from the show SpongeBob SquarePants, but if he lived in real life as a human. He barely paid us minimum wage, and that was only because he was required to by law. His name was Tom, and he looked like a typical manager, a middle-aged overweight man with a receding hairline. As soon as the night shift began, he told us, "I can't hang out here all night. I have a life," and left us in the hands of the assistant manager. The assistant manager was not any better. In fact, he was worse in my opinion. None of us liked him. His name was Buzz, and he was a control freak. Anytime he caught us slacking off, he would snitch on us to the manager whenever he got the chance. I remember that we used to go as far as to call him Buzzkill behind his back. It was an inside joke of ours because we found out pretty quickly that he did not have a sense of humor. I found out from personal experience when I accidentally slipped over a drink someone spilled on the floor and fell on my butt. Everyone else laughed except for him, who told me to go back to work with a displeased look on his face. Buzz cleared his throat to get all of us to listen to him and said once we all stopped what we were doing, "The manager may not be here, but I am. Right now, I am your Burger King, and you have to do whatever I say, whenever I say it." I couldn't help but start chuckling. I glanced around and saw that my co-workers were also trying not to laugh at how ridiculous Buzz was being. "I mean really? I am your Burger King?" Buzz said with a serious tone. "What's so funny, Eugene?" I wasn't surprised when he targeted me out of everyone in the group. He and I hadn't gotten along ever since the day I was hired. I never found out why he didn't like me, but I assumed it was for no reason. He was the only person there that called me by my full name. Everyone else just called me Gene. I said quickly while trying to suppress my laughter, "Nothing." Buzz leaned in close and stated with a tone of authority, "I could get you fired if I wanted to, Eugene. You better not mess with me if you know what's good for you." He leaned away from me and instructed everyone, "As for all of you, if you need something, please hesitate to ask. I will be in my office doing assistant manager duties." And with that, he retreated into his office and shut the door behind him. There were 3 of us besides Buzz who was working the night shift. There was Amy, who was an Asian girl who worked there because her parents made her get a job. Next, there was Mike, a tall and skinny guy who needed to work to take care of his daughter that he had when he was in high school. Lastly, there was an old man named Bob, who had worked there since the place first opened because he still didn't have enough money to retire. I whispered to Amy so that Buzz couldn't hear me. "Buzzkill is really living up to his nickname, isn't he?" She giggled and whispered back, "I guess so. We need to get to work though." I whispered, "Okay. Whatever you say, Mom." That was an inside joke that we had between the 2 of us. I would call her Mom whenever she told me what to do. My job was to take the orders. At first, we had several customers that would come in the late evening. Then, that amount would lessen as the evening gradually turned to late at night. After midnight, hardly anyone ever came. That was another reason why I decided to take the night shift, because I knew that I would get paid for doing hardly any work. I sat in a chair that I had pulled next to the drive-through window and was looking at posts on Instagram when I heard it. I heard an ear-splitting howling coming from outside. I thought at first that it could have just been a stray dog or even a wolf, but that cry sounded like something from a horror movie. Whatever made that sound sounded too big to be a dog or a wolf. In fact, it almost had a human-like sound to it. I ran into the kitchen in the back of the restaurant and exclaimed, "Guys! Did you just hear what I heard?" Mike asked, "What you talking about, man?" Amy looked at me as if she thought I was just yanking everyone's chains, but then Bob started, "I've heard that sound once before. The creature that you heard was a werewolf." Amy, Mike, and I all started laughing. I said, "That's really funny. You're just messing with us, aren't you, old man?" Bob shook his head and said, "I am not messing with you. I encountered a werewolf once when I was just a whippersnapper, and that's what it sounded like." The three of us laughed again, and Amy said, "If you're trying to scare us, it's not going to work." But then, the howling outside grew louder, as if the creature was coming closer to where we were, and we all flinched from the noise. Mike asked, "Maybe it's just a dog?" Before I could answer, Bob explained, "That sounds too big to be a dog." As I said, "It's a werewolf." I didn't want to believe the old man, but I couldn't think of anything else that it could have been. While I was trying to think about what I should do about the situation, Buzz stormed out of his office and demanded, "WHO keeps making that noise. I can't get anything done with that awful racket. Was it you, Eugene? Is this your idea of a joke? Because it's not funny." I exclaimed, "It wasn't me, Buzz. Even if it was me, why would I waste such a good prank on you anyway?" The howling started again, except that time, it was even louder than the first two times I heard it. We all jumped back, except for Buzz, who did not want to look like he was scared. He scowled at all of us and his expression turned into one of confusion after he must have realized that none of us was pranking him at that point. He looked at me and commanded, "Eugene, go outside and see what is making that noise." Usually, I had to do what Buzz instructed me to do, but my better judgment was against it. Instead, I said firmly, "No. I won't go outside. For all I know, it could be a werewolf like Bob was saying." Buzz scoffed, "You're dumber than I thought, Eugene. You're seriously listening to an old man that barely even remembers his own name half the time? Since none of you seem to have the guts to outside, I will go out there myself to take care of it." I wanted to stop him, but I thought that he'd taken it too far when he insulted the old man. The old man was like the father that I never had, so I didn't try to stop him when he went outside. However, it wasn't long before we could all hear the howling turn into a snarl. Next, we heard Buzz scream in pain. Buzz's screams grew more and louder until they had turned into high-pitched wails. I almost threw up from having to listen to that. It felt like an eternity before his screaming stopped. We all waited to see if he would come back inside and scoff at us for falling for his sick joke, but he never came back. Before I could do anything, I saw something moving from the corner of my eye. Then, the lights went out for several minutes and came back. After that, I noticed that Bob was missing. Did he go outside to try to help Buzz? I looked around the kitchen at Amy and Mike, but they both seemed just as confused and frightened as I was. I suggested, "How about we split up and look for him? Maybe we might find Buzz too?" We all knew deep down that Buzz was probably dead, but I thought that I'd keep high spirits in case he really was taking advantage of the fact that we were scared. I couldn't convince myself though, because I remembered after what I said that Buzz did not have a sense of humor, so he wouldn't pull any pranks, especially ones that elaborate. Amy and Mike went to search for different parts of the building, and I stayed in the kitchen. However, what I saw almost made me run for my money. I opened the fridge, and my eyes welled up with tears when I found the old man's body stuffed in it. He had a handkerchief tied around his mouth, and his neck was covered in blue bruises that showed that he died from someone strangling him. I could barely look at his face since his eyes were bulging to the point where I thought that they were going to fall out of their sockets. I barely managed to whisper, "Rest in peace, old man," as I closed the refrigerator door. I thought, how did none of us notice that something like that was happening? I looked around the kitchen one last time to see if I saw anything else wasn't right, and I saw that the Burger King mascot costume was missing from the storage room. That was when I heard evil laughing coming from the back entrance, and I saw the mascot standing there menacingly. I felt like I needed to leave that forsaken place and never come back, but I was outraged that someone, especially one of his co-workers, could strangle that innocent old man. So I charged at them and jerked off the mask. I yelled, "How could you kill Bob?" I was expecting to see one of my co-workers, but there was no one in the costume. I backed away shaking from fear. I ran away from the Burger King mascot and hid in the supply room at the other side of the building. I thought that I would be alone in the since I thought that Amy and Mike were both still searching for Bob, but then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I jumped, and the hand covered my mouth before I could yell out. The voice said, "Gene, it's me, Amy. It's okay." I turned around to see that Mike and Amy were both hiding in the closet. I asked, "What are you guys doing in here?" Amy reassured me, "It's not what it looks like. We saw the creature outside and ran in here to get away from it." Mike added, "Yeah?" I asked in disbelief, "So you went outside?" Amy explained, "Well, we were considering it, but then we saw a glimpse of the werewolf and decided that it was best to not go out there." I commented, "I wouldn't have gone out there either. I'm glad you're both safe." Amy asked, "Did you find Bob?" I hung my head and answered, "Yeah. Someone, or something, strangled him and stuffed him in the fridge." Amy cried, "That's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" I said, "I know this sounds crazy, but I saw was the Burger King mascot suit walking around. I thought that it was one of you guys trying to mess with me, but I pulled off the head and no one was in it. That's how I ended up in here with you guys. I was hoping that they'd agree with me that I sounded crazy, but neither one of them said a word." That all happened around 2 in the morning. The three of us were too scared to leave and risk being killed, so we stayed put in the supply room for the rest of the night until the manager came back the next morning before opening hours. We made him jump back from surprise when we emerged from the closet looking like zombies from the lack of sleep. Fear from the events that happened last night kept us awake all night. Tom asked with a raised eyebrow, "What were you guys doing in the supply room? And where are Bob and Buzz? I noticed that they both haven't checked in for work today." I explained, "Well, there was a werewolf and a possessed mascot costume that came after them and killed them last night." Tom looked at us and stated firmly, "Look, I don't care what you guys do during the night shift as long as you do your jobs. I don't want to hear about your drug-induced fantasies." I said quickly, "I can prove it. I'll show you." Tom sighed and said, "Okay. Lead the way, Gene." I led them all to the fridge and opened it, but Bob's dead body wasn't in there. Amy and Mike had the same confused expressions that I had as Tom scowled at us. He stated, "You better not be wasting my time. Time is money." Amy reminded me, "What about the werewolf outside? Maybe Buzz's body is still out there?" Tom said, "I'll come to check with you guys, but if there's nothing out there, then you are going straight to work. No more of this monkey business." We all went outside to examine the drive-thru, but Buzz was nowhere to be seen. Tom huffed, "As I said, you were all doing drugs last night and saw stuff that didn't happen." Mike stated, "We wasn't doing dope, sir." Amy added, "Yeah? We didn't do any drugs at all." Tom said, "I said I don't want to hear it. Now get to work." I knew that something happened. The three of us all knew that, whether our manager believed us or not. That was when I refused to work there any longer. I said, "I quit."